here it is. So the backstory to behind, what's going on YouTube. Welcome to my channel. So as I was on my way to work the other day, like I was just kind of like brainstorming different ideas on like, what should I do? Like, in regards to my YouTube channel, like, because as you could tell, like this is a video game channel, like I like to play video games. Like the channel, it started out as primarily like a faceless YouTube channel, but eventually, like, within the past couple of, within the past week or two, I've actually warmed up to the idea of actually getting on camera and like, just, commentating over my gameplay or, playing the game while commentating, simultaneously, and as I was on my way to work the other day, I was thinking, I was like, what should I do to kind of like spice up my content, because I mean, it's cool to play games and everything like that, but I would much rather like, kind of like diversify it a little bit, so I'm like, what could I do that's game related where I could actually still be on camera and I could discuss like games. And then I was thinking, I was like, maybe game reviews. I'm like, okay, like that's a potential video for the future. But I'm like, then I thought, then a light bulb just went off. I was like, you know what, let me do videos that's predicated on video game nostalgia. Now, speaking of that, I guess you could call me like a game collector at this point, because like I actually still own my Nintendo 64. Nintendo 64, I still have my Sega Dreamcast, and I also still have the first Xbox. And as a matter of fact, hold on, here it is. So the backstory to this is, so I remember, I'll never forget it. Like when I was younger, I was actually a child. This was, I believe this was my 8th birthday. Now this was back in 2002. So my mother, like, she actually ended up buying me like that Xbox that I just showed you. That, it actually came along with a bundle. Like it came along with a bundle. So like there was a game already in there. So like there was, it was Sega GT 2000, which was actually like a racing game. And then you had Jet Set Radio Future. Now, me when I was younger, like I thought being that like Sega GT 2000 was like literally on the front, like it was the front portion of the case. Like I thought that was the only game, and like whenever I would look on the back of the case, it would be Jet Set Radio Future. But see, the thing is, I thought that Jet Set Radio Future, as like, and this is me as a child, like I thought it was just like an advertisement, so like whenever I would turn on a game, and there was kind of like a list, like, so there was like Sega GT 2000, and then there was Jet Set Radio up underneath it, and then like the rest of like the the games on the list were all just trailers for like upcoming like Xbox games, or games Xbox games that were like already out by that point. Now it took, if I had to like put a time frame on it, like it took approximately probably like maybe almost a year or like just a couple of months for me to like realize that like Jet Set Radio was an actual playable game on there, so like once I found it, come to find out, like that game ended up being the greatest. Like honestly, like I feel like that's one of the greatest games ever made. Like that's probably my favorite game of all time. Like this, like the nostalgia with that game is like through the roof. Like, and it's not even only just the nostalgia, but like it's the like the soundtrack. Like even to this day, I still go back and like I go back on YouTube and like I listen to like the soundtrack. Like the soundtracks were fire, like the art design was fire, the voice acting was fire, the dancing was fire. As a matter of fact, there it is, Sega GT 2000, and then Jet Set Radio Future. So when I first seen this, as I mentioned before, when I first seen this, I literally thought it was just this game. I literally thought this was just like the advertisement. I thought it was an advertisement for Jet Set Radio and everything like that, So now moving forward, when it comes to like my Xbox, because at first, yes, I was an Xbox. I guess you could say like starting out, like I was more of a Xbox fan, I guess you could say, and that was more so because I actually experienced the Xbox before I experienced the PS2, because a cousin of mine, like I went over to their place, and like this was like this was when I was a child. I seen it, and like that was one of the first time that I seen like a next gen system outside of the like Nintendo 64 and like like the Sega Dreamcast and everything like that. So when I seen that, I told myself, I'm like, oh wow, that look fire, like I want to get that, and then like I said, like ultimately, like it was a full circle moment. My mother, she ended up buying it for me, and Like, it was like, trust me, like, it was fire. But moving forward from that, like, this was probably like a couple of years. This was a couple of years later. Like, I'm playing the Xbox because I played that Xbox into the ground, literally. You know, now the one that you see now, the one that I just recently showed you, like, that's actually I had to get it repaired, and by getting repaired, I'm literally they just switched it out and, like, you know, just gave me a whole new one. So here's the backstory to that. I'm just playing the game. I remember I used to play another game that I used to play heavy was Dead or Alive 3. You know, I don't know, like, if any one of y'all like familiar with like fighting games, like Dead or Alive 3 is actually like a classic, like, you know. So I'm playing that, you know, and then one day, like, it just boom, like steam comes from it and everything, like the game literally blows out, you know. So like me as a child, I'm like, oh, you know, like like I'm thinking like I can just take the plug out and, like, you know, replug it back in. But I'm like, I already figured, I'm like, I know it's probably a wrap, but, you know, as a child, like, you when something like that happens, like, you're kind of like in denial. So like you're still trying to like figure out like I guess you could a way to be able to like get it to play again, you know. So I was kind of in denial at that point, but I kind of already knew it was a wrap for it. So what I did was like eventually, and it's crazy because this was years later. Like, this was years later. I actually ended up you know, mailing it back off to I mailed it to Microsoft, and like what they did was like they actually ended up sending me another one. So that one is actually like the new version. Like, that's not the original version that I mentioned to you guys. But once that one blew out, sent it back to Microsoft, and then they gave me another one, you know. So and I'm actually still kind of like upset that, like, you know, I don't have any other games, you know. But being that, like, I actually have I have like, you know, kind of like a new age TV. Like, I have like a Sony TV, you know, and like I kind of, you know, this morning when I woke up, you know, I'm off from work and everything like that. So I'm like, you know what, like I wanted to kind of like go down like a nostalgia trip, you know. So I looked into, like, you know, my TV stand and everything like that, and I already figured, I'm like, yeah, these are like new age TV, so I know for a fact they're not going to be able to take like the because you remember, like, back in the day they had like the colored wires, like they had like, it was the red, white, and yellow one. So I already knew, like, I have those wires as well. But so what I did was I had to go on Amazon. Like, Amazon is kind of like my Amazon is your best friend nowadays. Like, you know, like whatever you need, like they got it. So I looked it up and like I actually ordered it, so it should be getting here sometime soon, you know. But and I really want to see how it's going to look like on my TV. Like, you know, like, think about it, like playing like a game that came out back in like the early 2000s, like on a TV, like, you know, like a modern TV, like it's gonna be kind of cool, you know. But this was actually like a cool video. Like I said, like I actually like this concept, you know, because I like to, you know, I'm getting more comfortable with the YouTube thing, and I'm trying to like step outside of my realm. Like not necessarily step outside of my realm in the sense of like, you know, outside of gaming, but more so like outside of my realm in the sense of like, you know, being able to like do other videos in the gaming niche, but where I could still be able to, like, you know, let my personality shine through, you know. But yeah, like as I said before, like I'm kind of like a video game collector. Like you know, I wanna make a couple of videos about like my PS3, you know. I want to make videos about my you know, sad part is like I actually had a PS2. Now I got the PS2 like later on towards the ending of its life cycle, you know. Like so like an uncle, so you know what, I'm gonna leave that for another video. But like I got the PS2 around the end, it was like the tail ending of its life cycle, you know. Like I had the slim version, I didn't have the original model, you know. So but then like I ended up getting a PS3 not too long after I received that PS2, you know. So I didn't really have that much time with the PS2. That's why I know like PS2 is kind of like, you know, a lot of people's favorite like system to play. But I don't really have the nostalgia. I don't have the same nostalgia for PS2 as other groups, you know, other people do, you know. But this was actually a fun video, you know, and like this is something that I want to do, you know, a little, you know, more often, you know. But until next time, like you know, before I go, I have a quick question. So, what was the video game that got you into well, just playing video games in general? And also, what was the first system that you owned? The first video game system that you owned? Let me know in the comment section. All right? Everyone take care, okay? Thank you.